What is the number one thing that customers of procurement complain about? It's typically how long it takes for a procurement request to be completed. All right, customers, I'm going to let you in on a secret. For mid-sized to large corporations, a significant portion of time that it takes to get a deal done, to get a contract executed, to buy your thing, a lot of that time is being spent passing that contract, passing that purchasing decision across multiple departments. People in procurement organizations call those various departments, all those various bodies of governance that we have to engage, we call those matrix partners. Matrix partners aren't the bad guy. I want to make sure I say this in the video. A matrix partner is a partner. They're part of the process. But people don't understand that you can't just whip out a credit card and just buy something for a corporation. There's a variety of reasons why you have to check with various entities. And the procurement organization is one of the few that straddle all of those different departments, which makes it valuable and important. But a lot of people, because they're interfacing with the procurement people, they think the procurement people are taking all of the time. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. I get that people aren't going to be happy, especially in this world of Amazon, when you can literally buy a 36-inch magnetic knife holder for your wall. I literally just bought one. You can have it the next day. And that's why customers of procurement, people who need things from corporations, that's why they expect to get stuff the next day. People just expect that they're going to be able to reach out to someone, and then within 3 or 4 days, the thing that they want, the service that they want, is going to be able to start, or it's going to show up at their desk. But that's not how corporate purchasing works. And there is a very good reason why. And we're going to go through that in this video today. Let me get a simple element out of the way for this conversation. It's easier to buy a thing. If I want to buy erasers or computer mice or routers or computer monitors, it's easier to buy those things. A physical product like that is not necessarily interacting with your company's infrastructure, although I just said a router, and like you could have a router with like sketchy Chinese back-end software attached to it, and then as soon as you plug it into your network, it's sending information back to Chinese servers and things can happen. So scratch that last one. But the general idea is if I need to go buy some pens and pencils or, 100,000 pounds of toilet paper, it's not going to cause a security risk to buy those types of things. You can buy those things with minimal contracting and governance. There's minimal risk to purchase those things. It's easy. But as things start to get more complicated, especially if you are buying services, and services, right, in the world of technology that we live in, almost everything is in the cloud now. Everything is software as a service. So that means you are interacting with some cloud element. You may be uploading data about your corporation to those things. And that means there may be privacy concerns and there might be data concerns. And that is why I'm going to start with matrix partner number 1, information protection. Information protection and procurement, they're like peanut butter and jelly, baby. You're sending your information out to some server out in the cloud, and now your information's out there. It may be intermingling with other companies' information, and there could be a legitimate concern that your special, critical, private information may get into the wrong hands, cause a security breach. An information protections department's sole purpose is to make sure that doesn't happen. So anytime you are touching an electronic system, you're likely going to have to involve your information protection department. They have to do an extensive analysis on the company servers. They have to make sure that you putting our information, the company's information, onto that server is not going to introduce risk to the corporation. Yeah, that can take some time, and people don't always get that evaluation period to understand and fully vet the security protocols of where you're sending the data is going to be a safe place. The other thing that people don't seem to realize, people tend to associate the dollar amount of a contract with the total amount of risk. Let's say you go out and buy $500 worth of cloud software. You buy some new cloud tool like one of those online Excel clones. So it's a spreadsheet online that you can collaborate with people. And we all know that people like to put way too much information in a spreadsheet. So let's say In the procurement world, we like to say that you have $1 million spreadsheet. So you have this spreadsheet with all this critical information on it, and it should be like in a system or a database somewhere, but it's on a spreadsheet. So let's say some genius gets the idea to put one of those $1 million spreadsheets into one of these collaborative cloud solutions. And let's say that thing gets breached. You can cause a major problem. So even though it might be cheap, you may expose your company to significant amounts of risk. So just because the dollar amount of the solution is fairly cheap, there is a material risk that one has to consider when purchasing the software. And you may have to have significantly more liability and insurance language in your contracts in order to be able to use that contract and that product safely. So again, as a customer, you may be frustrated and say, I don't get what the big deal is. This thing's only $5,000 worth of software. And you may be exposing your company to such significant risk for such a small product that you likely should and could find an alternative product with better security options. Your second matrix partner is your traditional IT department, and your IT department might have multiple subdivisions. But generally, if you're going out and getting a cloud-based solution, you most likely have a department that will establish service level agreements for the cloud. So, you know what your uptime agreements are, when things need to be on, when things can potentially be down, and if something is down in an inappropriate time, what the credit should be. This is important because if you have multiple systems across multiple companies that are all supposedly working together and talking to each other, you have to have common service level agreements. So you can't have one system down at one time and another system down at another time. So again, this is another situation where you think this is simple to buy something, but you have to go back and validate and negotiate certain uptime arrangements to make sure that you don't have this cascading effect where your systems are down for days at a time. And then you just have your traditional IT partners. Your IT partners are not going to want a standard business unit to go out and buy 5 different products that do exactly the same thing. You don't want to let random business units go out and buy 5 different versions of a project management tool when one will get the job done. And not to mention the fact that if you have a strategic vision, you may have all of these project management tools or these workflow tools or whatever it is actually connecting together so you can document and create one cohesive vision for the corporation, as opposed to having 5 different programs that have 5 different segmentations and you never get the full picture of what you're ever doing. So IT partners are super important to make sure that the product that you're buying will work with the ecosystem of your corporation. You can't just go running out buying something because you like it or you may have used it in a different company. You have to make sure that all of these things work together. And the other thing that people don't consider is if you have multiple products that do the same thing, you are diverting your talent base. So you're not developing a strong core of talent that knows how to use a specific tool and do it well. You have 5 different groups that know how to do sort of the same thing. So you can never intermix your talent, or you have to have the cost of cross-training people on all of these different tools, which costs a lot of money to have that cross-training, that cross-engineering in the background to support these things. It just costs more money across the board. See, this gets really complicated, doesn't it? There's a reason why there are procurement departments. Matrix partner number 3, legal. If you're signing a contract, you probably want a legal department involved in some way. Typically, there are more procurement people and there are more contracts than there are lawyers. Your friendly neighborhood lawyer is likely going to set up contract templates. So the procurement department can leverage the templates, and maybe they may even give you alternative language to certain critical terms that we know companies are going to consistently redline. So you don't have to keep going back to your lawyer for the same things over and over again. They tend to know when a company is going to change or try to change a term, and they may have 3 or 4 options. Now again, if a supplier is looking at this, and I know you guys like to watch my videos, supplier may know, oh well, yeah, we don't like any of those 3 options, or aha, we knew that you had 3 options, and we're going to wait you out or reject 3, and now you're going to have to create a custom language. You guys don't want that, and that brings up another point. Customers, you think that the procurement department may be dragging their feet, or maybe you think it's the lawyer's fault or IT's fault. But at the end of the day, if you have standard language that we have to have into a contract in order to move forward, and the supplier doesn't agree to it, these conversations, these negotiations can take months. A standard master licensing or master service agreement can take up to 6 months on the average. So when you are sending a request saying, hey, I want to go buy this software, I want this software, I need it by next week, you're not going to get it because it takes up to 6 months to negotiate a new master licensing agreement. And it's not because we're not good at our jobs, it's because you got to check with legal, you got to check with IT, you got to check with information privacy, you got to check with ethics departments. And not only that, when you insert the language that we need to protect ourselves, most companies will say no, especially in cloud agreements, because if you're on the other side of that red line of that contract and a company is changing all of your standard terms, the cloud company is going to be in a very difficult position because they're not going to want to have to support 55 different versions or 5,000 versions of the same contract with ever so slightly different service level agreements. So they're in a tough spot too. It's hard for a company to agree to all these different conditions and be able to provide support in a cost-effective way. Like I said, it gets really complicated. There can be a whole bunch of other matrix groups and matrix partners, depending on how your company operates. You may have a specific division that is dedicated to diversity, and you may have to vet the contract with a diversity department, and they may have a policy that 20% of your purchases have to be with a diverse supplier. So you may have a preferred product, but it doesn't meet the quota, it doesn't meet the criteria, and you may have to find an alternative solution that meets the diversity quota for that particular year. Having those diversity quotas helps your company bid for other business, which keeps the lights on. So diversity quotas or diversity spend levels, or if contracts determine that a certain level of diversity should happen, are a really good thing for a company because it helps them get more business, it helps the communities. So again, that's a whole other situation that someone who's just like trying to go out and buy a piece of software or get a service or do something from a procurement perspective, they may not understand that there are all these things happening in the background that are driving decisions, delays, other sub-processes that may take your process and your request to buy something and make it take a little bit longer. I forgot an extremely critical matrix partner, and this is important for any purchasing function. You as a customer, right? I'm talking to the customer now. I know this is going to be confusing because I keep switching back and forth. But a customer may want to buy something, but then they have to check with their financial controller. So a lot of people like to blame sourcing, they're the buying police, but then there are financial controllers for every division, and your financial controller may say, you don't have the money to buy this thing, or you are spending too much money for this particular resource, you need to go back to the well and knock off 35%. So that is a whole other element too. You may think you're good to go and you want to go buy the thing, and then your controller says, not gonna happen. You can't have this, you gotta knock off 35%. Matrix partners. You may think that a procurement department is slow, but it really takes a village. It takes a group of organizations to come together to help you buy the thing that you need and to make sure that it is safe and it doesn't inflict harm upon the company that you work for. I know that it's tough and I know that it's hard, and it's so easy now to just whip out your credit card, go on Amazon and get the thing that you want and it'll be there the next day. But you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that because there are a lot of reasons why you can't buy the thing that you think is safe and that you want. It's got to be checked out. Trust in your procurement department. Allow them to be the conveners that they are designed to be to help you get through these processes. But also be a little patient, because this isn't as easy as you think it is. It's not just flipping a contract, sending out a check, and calling it a day. There's a lot of things that need to get done in the background to make sure that what you're doing is cool. All right, I've rambled on enough. I hope that you enjoyed this video about matrix partners. I hope that it was educational. Customers, if you're watching this, I hope you're not getting too salty about, me kind of calling you out about complaining about things not getting done too fast. And sourcing people, I hope you're not too salty about me opening the kimono and showing people all the things that need to get done in the background in order for us to do a deal. And matrix partners, love and respect. Not throwing you guys under the bus because your involvement takes more time, right? Because we have to vet everything. Everybody has their part in this situation. Everybody has their part in the process, and everyone needs to understand what's happening in the background. And I hope this video helped you understand. And hope you're having a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.